Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It is Friday evening, the sun is shining, it's a lovely day here in Perthshire in Scotland. This evening we are talking property, and basically because I've seen a report that says, well, it's not really a report, it's more a discussion or an opinion piece, I'm not quite sure which, but they're saying that the government here in the UK is looking to take into account property ownership when they're looking at benefits. Now, that is a whole can of worms. If I get the mortgage paid off on this and then transfer it to Kathleen, seemingly there is a possibility that that will be classed as deprivation of assets. And whereas up until now, your pension and your entitlement to pension credits, etc., was based on pretty much what you had coming in, not what you own. They're looking at now taking into account people's assets, including property. Now, I get that to some extent. However, it's one of those things that, if you look at my parents' old house, which we had to sell to pay for the care home fees, they bought that. My dad inherited it. He had to buy out his brother. And I think it cost him about maybe 20, 30 grand when I was 12. So that would be late 70s, mid to late 70s. Their mortgage, I think, was about 30,000 because they had to, I distinctly remember we knocked it down to the 4 brick walls and built it back up again. The value of that property when I sold it, now this was my dad's place, my dad would never have moved in a million years. He never would have sold the place. The value when I sold it was 400,000. I have to say it didn't last very long and pretty much went to care home fees, all of it. So they would have been sitting in that house with their very basic pensions. They did have company pensions that are not too bad, but still would have been tight. But because of the value of their house, because it had accrued through no fault of their own, just because of where it was and the length of time they had been living there, this new process would then mean that mum and dad would not be entitled to pension credits or certain benefits because they have too much equity in their house. Which I think is, I don't think that's right. And I mean, don't get me wrong, if someone's, recently bought a multi-million-pound house, I don't expect them to be getting pension credits the next month. However, if someone's been in a house for the last 50, 60 years, I don't expect them to be penalised in their day-to-day life by not getting benefits because the value of the house has gone up. I mean, I know that my friend years ago, getting what we're talking early 80s now, she bought a small flat, the sitting room cum kitchen with your bedroom and your toilet, so one of those, like a studio flat, I think it's almost called now. That was 15,000 back then, and it's now worth 60. Well, it would be, that's what they're for sale for. But if she had continued to stay there, it's not that she's, making money out of it. It's not that she's going to benefit because she's going to stay there till she passes, or until she goes into a care home fee and the government sells her house anyway for care home fees. So I'm a bit wary about that. And certainly for me, I want Kathleen to be able to stay in this house. So it makes sense for me to transfer it to her. But that would seemingly be classed as deprivation of assets. So if you are of my age group in the UK, I would definitely, especially if you have purchased a property, if you own a property, if you're paying off a mortgage on a property, etc., etc., I would be looking at how to deal with it in the future. Because the discussion about this, what they're going to look at, they're going to look at this and see if they think this would be a good idea going forward. And that could leave an awful lot of us who are of a certain age, who don't have that many years in front of us, to be able to beat oh, you must have done this however many years ago. But that however many years ago just seems to keep extending. And it could just be, I'm not even sure if it has extended or been changed, because when I was reading about it in the report or in the article, they didn't say if it's within 7 years or if it's within 8 years. They just said if you give your house to your child or put it in your child's name, the council will class that as deliberate deprivation of assets and the child will need to sell it anyway. So yeah, something to think about. As I say, it's not something that's happened as yet, but seemingly it's something they're going to look at. And that if pensioners are on low pensions or are applying for pension credit because they're on low pensions, if they have equity in their house, that could be taken into consideration. No much good having equity in your house if you can't buy food or pay your electricity bill. So yeah, that's my thought for the day. I have tea already made, so I am going to go now rest and have tea, and I will catch you later.